Very much for this, in a way, exciting introduction to me. A lot of it I heard for the first time. Looks like a long time has gone and I forgot most of it. السلام عليكم جميعا. أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير. And welcome to the Abu Dhabi Summit on Food Security. I'm told that the translation kits are not totally distributed, so I'll try to be fair to the interpreters as well and do my opening remarks on two parts, one in Arabic and one in English, and I hope that will help the majority to grasp most of what I say. إنه لشرف عظيم لي اليوم السيدات والسادة أصحاب المعالي أن أقف أمامكم في قمة أبو ظبي العالمية للأمن الغذائي التي تمثل منارة للأمل ودعوة للعمل في هذا الوقت الذي نعمل فيه جميعاً للتصدي لواحدة من أكثر القضايا أهمية وإلحاحاً في عصرنا اليوم، وهي مشكلة انعدام الأمن الغذائي. واسمحوا لي أن نتقدم بأسماءات الشكر والعرفان لسمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد آل نهيان على رعايته الكريمة التي جعلت هذا الحدث ممكناً، والشكر موصول لمعالي الدكتورة آمنة الضحاك وزيرة التغير المناخي والبيئة بدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة على رعايتها واستضافتها وتشرفنا برئاستها لجلسات هذا اللقاء. الجوع آخذ في الازدياد على مستوى العالم، ويسلط أحد التقرير عن حالة الأمن الغذائي والتغذية الضوء على أن أكثر من 735 مليون شخص حول العالم يعانون من نقص التغذية، بينما يعاني أكثر من 9% من سكان العالم من الجوع المزمن. وبحلول عام 2030 قد يعاني 580 مليون شخص من نقص التغذية المزمن، نصفهم في أفريقيا، مما يؤكد أن الحاجة تدعونا إلى بذل جهود جماعية لإيجاد حلول مستدامة. وها نحن نجتمع اليوم في أبو ظبي عاصمة دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة التي برزت على الساحة العالمية كدولة رائدة في مجال البحث في حلول الأمن الغذائي. وخطت دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة خطوات كبيرة في تطوير نظم غذائية مبتكرة ومستدامة، لا سيما من خلال التزامها بالاستفادة من التقنيات المتقدمة والذكاء الاصطناعي في قطاع الزراعة والأمن الغذائي. وتفخر منظمة الأغذية والزراعة بأن تكون شريكاً رئيسياً في هذه الرؤية لمعالجة الأمن الغذائي العالمي. وقد نما تعاوننا مع دولة الإمارات من خلال عدة مبادرات أبرزها إطلاق المركز الإقليمي للتميز في الأمن الغذائي في أكتوبر تشرين الأول 2024. ويعتبر هذا المركز الذي أنشئ بفضل جهودنا المشتركة منارة للابتكار، حيث أنه يركز على الممارسات الزراعية المستدامة والتصدي للتحديات الخاصة في المناطق الجافة. كما أن منظمة الأغذية والزراعة الفاو لها دور فعال ونشط في دعم جهود دولة الإمارات لتحسين الإنتاج الغذائي المحلي وضمان سلامة الأغذية ودمج الممارسات الذكية مناخياً في النظم الزراعية والغذائية، بما يحقق أهداف التنمية المستدامة الأوسع في البلاد. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، تركز هذه القمة على انعدام الأمن الغذائي على المستوى العالمي. ففي منطقة الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا يواجه أكثر من 47 مليون شخص انعدام الأمن الغذائي الحاد، وهو عدد آخذ في الارتفاع بسبب تغيرات المناخ والنزاعات والحروب وعدم الاستقرار الاقتصادي. والآثار المترتبة على ذلك وخيمة، فذلك لا يهدد سبل عيش الملايين فحسب، بل يقوض أيضاً التنمية المستدامة والاقتصاد في المنطقة. At the FAO, we understand that food security is not a standalone issue. It requires an integrated approach to agricultural nutrition, climate resilience, and economic stability. In the face of ongoing challenges, the urgency of transforming agri-food systems is clear. This transformation must promote sustainable agriculture, increase food production, and reduce food waste and loss. In addressing the global food security crisis, we must acknowledge the vital roles of youth and women in shaping the future of food systems and agri-food systems. Empowering them is crucial to achieving the ambitious goals outlined in the 2030 Agenda, SDG 2, Zero Hunger. FAO's efforts to increase investment in rural areas and enhance production align with the UAE's focus on providing solutions to global food security challenges. However, we cannot achieve food security on our own. The challenges are too great for any one nation or organization to tackle it alone. It is only through collaboration and partnership that we can forge pathways to a sustainable, resilient food systems transformation and ensuring food's future. This summit presents an opportunity to engage in an inclusive dialogue, to share knowledge, and to develop solutions that are innovative, equitable, and sustainable. Yesterday, during the high-level Majlis meeting of the Excellencies, heads of delegations, and ministers, I have concluded on summarizing the food security map. And this is something I thought that my colleagues are here in the regional office of the Food and Agriculture Organization put together a thought of how can we simplify the way we describe food security to the high officials and the low officials. And I ask the Excellencies to excuse me to repeat it, but maybe for the first time they see it on the board, I ask to put the act together. So, Dr. Salah, I'm not putting a video, but I'm putting just a one slide and try to explain what do we mean by food security. What does any food security system in any country or any community requires? What does it face as a challenge? And what are the possible solutions to overcome it? It's just a simple equation that summarizes the whole thing. It's simple in one slide, but the implementation of this requires a lot of work. Every single item that you see here is expressed as one word requires a strategy by itself. And Dr. Salah highlighted the role of a private sector, important on the supply chain, and I'll come to that, important on how do we reach and make sure that we ensure food safety and all the other aspects. I will start by the main pillars that any food system requires in any countries. 4 A's, and this is what makes the whole ACT formula together. The 4 A's are food availability, and this is how can we make food available. And this comes from two main sources, your internal production and your import from outside. So you have two inputs coming in. One of the challenges that in most of the countries, and this is not strange only to our countries, you find two sectors dealing with these two things. Local production, usually ministries of agriculture, supported by ministries of water and irrigation, but import comes from ministries of trade and supply and the private sector and others. So this needs a national coordination to ensure that you don't bring commodities at the time when you have local productions. So you don't jeopardize the chances of the smallholder farmers when they produce and they're faced in the market with more commodities, maybe come at a cheaper rate from other parts of the world. So this needs a full coordination to ensure that your local productions always have a value. Now, food available is not sufficient by itself to achieve food security. You need to make sure that food is accessible. The private sector plays the major role on this, although the government has the biggest role because they need to build the infrastructure required to make food accessible. And when we say food accessible, accessibility requires reaching out to the most vulnerable communities in the countries, and those are the rural areas and most of the time. Big cities always have all the facilities, the retails, and the markets and the supply chains available. But rural areas always face challenge, and the government needs to pump in more investment and resources to make sure that food is accessible to everyone in the country. Food can be available, accessible, but may not be affordable because of the prices. And this is where the subsidies packages comes in from the government, competition as well, and other things to make sure that food is affordable for especially the low-income communities. And the last part is food adequacy. And on food adequacy or adaptability, we mean by healthy food. So you don't need to make food available, accessible and affordable, but not healthy, because as a country, as a community, and as an economy, you will end up paying that on the health sector as well. So that has to come in all together. Those are the 4 A's that make up our food systems, food security systems. But they're faced with 4 C's as the challenges. One is climate. We have spoken enough about climate impact. Second is calamities. And the calamities, we mean all the crises we face, starting from the economic crisis in 2007 and 2008, to our region of what we passed by, what we call the Arab Springs, and then we went into the COVID, and we went and saw some earthquakes and floods happening in Syria, Turkey, Morocco, Libya, and other countries. And then we saw the case of the war in the Black Sea between Russia and Ukraine that has impacted our region because it is one of the main corridors that supply the Middle East with the basic commodities, mainly food, because of its geographical proximity and ease of transport. But when the crisis happened, the prices went high. The first affected countries were most of the Middle East and North Africa region. And these are calamities that we face all the time, and we see what's happening today of the conflicts around us between Gaza, Yemen, Sudan, where we're losing a lot. Even the countries that are not part of that conflict, they are paying a lot. And I would like to commend Egypt in particular, and to a certain extent Jordan as well, on supporting the food security initiatives with the humanitarian supply to Gaza and Sudan and others, which is going at the cost of the local supply in the markets. So these are food security challenges that will continue to appear. Very important on the last C's is the consumer culture. How do we consume our diets? We cannot continue talking about 30 to 40% of our food waste and loss, that we throw it away and we say we don't have enough food. If by just saving that 30% on our food, we might not need to produce more food and stress our natural resources, mainly land and water. The solutions to solve food security problems. Trade, trade, trade. We need to invest in trade. There is not a single nation that can make self-sufficient production of their food. All the big nations, including the advanced developed nations, still import food from outside. So we need to invest in a long-term trade, and we need to diversify. And COVID and Ukraine, Black Sea crisis, taught us 2 important lessons. We should not rely on one single source for our food. We should diversify where do we get our food from. So if a crisis happens, be it natural or man-made, we always have alternatives where we can get our food from. Technology, and that's all what we spoke throughout the summit on innovations. We need to invest more. We cannot continue producing food business as usual with the old traditional ways. We have to reduce on our use of water, make sure we maximize on resources, and make sure that we employ all the available technology. On this particular point, I would like to stress our food is still produced, 80% of it, by smallholder farmers. These are resourceless, vulnerable, important suppliers of our food. If we want to invest in technology, we have to make sure one condition, we make it achievable and affordable for the small farmer holders. Most of the technologies in agriculture sector produced today are mainly targeting big investors, and they reduce the chances of small farmer holders that are still responsible for major food production. So unless we make it affordable, usable, maintainable, and achievable by the small farmer holders, we will lose the chance of making that technology usable and available to supply our food. Tapping on local resources, maximize. Excellent opportunities, excellent efforts taken by countries, many countries in the world, Africa, in our region. We see this in UAE, in Saudi, in Oman, in Kuwait, Qatar. We see a great opportunity. His Excellency Minister Ala of Egypt shared with us yesterday how Egypt went on the 1.5 million Faddan initiative. This is to claim new lands. So tapping on local resources is very important. We have to continue increasing the best of what we have, transforming our diets. And that goes back to the culture of how we consume our food. So sorry for taking that long, but I thought this is very important to give you a quick snapshot. What is food security is all about? How can we tackle the challenges on food security? Let me once again, I express my deep appreciation to the United Arab Emirates and its leadership for their commitment to advocating food security on both the national and the global levels. As we move forward in the coming days, let us remember that our work here in Abu Dhabi is not just about identifying the problems, but also about creating solutions. Solutions that will have far-reaching impacts on millions of people who rely on us and how we exchange our experiences and learn from success stories to ensure that food security becomes a reality for all. Together, we can move from words to action, from challenges to solutions, and from hunger to hope. I thank you.